Good evening, YouTube, and welcome. Oh boy, have we got a show for you this evening? Jesus. Um, yeah, so we obviously covered this earlier this week, um, and that was what happened at the Leicestershire County Council. Sorry, County Council Scrutiny Committee meeting, and I kind of think what is going to go happen here is probably going to be the pattern probably for the next couple of months. I keep on bringing it up to you all. Two big points of, well, 2 big months that are going to get really busy with lots of ridiculous reform council news. First of all, obviously, is going to be November. That's when we're going to see the deadline for local government reform. So we're going to see what happens with that stuff and the consequences and the aftermath of that stuff when that all kicks in. And then in December, these councils are expected to be putting forward budgets and financial plans to be voted on in February. So we've got 2 probably very busy months coming up. Very busy months indeed. So it is going to be a lot of fun. It is probably going to involve watching a lot of these committee meetings, because I think this is where the fun stuff is going to happen. Last time we watched a scrutiny committee meeting, if you happen to get the chance to see it, we watched the fun unfolding in Nottinghamshire. That was fun. That got a little bit spicy. We'll see if that continues for scrutiny committee meetings in Nottinghamshire. That's for sure. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining me this evening. By the way, for people in chat, Billy, good evening to you. Person impersonator, good evening to you. Trip, good evening to you as well. And like I say, good evening to everyone else in chat this evening. Yeah, we've got some fun for you. We are going to start off watching this at 1.5 as well, because this is like a 3-hour committee meeting. We are probably once again not going to get the chance to cover it all. We will, I think, probably maybe skip forward, skip back. We'll see how it goes. We will see how it goes. But we're going to see what happens. But we are in for some good times, because we're going to see some fantasy economics, or at least promises put forward by Dan Harrison, which he isn't going to be able to deliver on when the time comes. So he's putting all his eggs in this audit committee. In fact, TDLR, to catch you all up, for those who don't know, a couple of months back, Dan Harrison, the leader of Leicestershire County Council, the guy who is in charge of the reform group there, decides not to wait for Doge, and he launches an independent audit, or asks a third party to independently audit the county council. And he has been building this up for the past week or so, that this audit is going to come back and it's going to reveal like all this waste, and this is what they're going to slash from the budget, and this is what's going to save Leicestershire County Council. So he's putting a lot of his eggs in those baskets for that audit to come back. But it ain't gonna save him. It ain't gonna save him at all. So let's kick this off and let's start to see some madness on this on this committee meeting.
Today's meeting of the Scrutiny Commission. As usual, this meeting is being broadcast live to the public. For those,
do let me know if you can hear it or not as well.
Not able to watch live, the webcast will be recorded and made available for viewing on the County Council's website after the meeting. Today we've received apologies from Mr O'Shea, and Mr Smith is attending as his substitute, and we've also received apologies from Mr Robinson, but we don't have a substitute for him. Before we begin, can I please remind everyone to turn on their microphones when you wish to speak or are invited to speak. So on to item 1. The first item is the minutes of the meeting held on the 24th of June, pages 3 to 10. I move that these are taken as read, confirmed and signed. Is that agreed? Thank you. Item 2, question time. I have received one question from a member of the public, Mr Stairs. And the question and my response has been circulated to members of the committee prior to the start of the meeting and will be taken as read. This has also been published on the Council's website for public information. I'd like to remind members that there is no discussion held on this. Mr Stairs has advised that he has a supplementary question, and so he has joined us online. Good morning, Mr Stairs, welcome. So before proceeding, can I remind you that your supplementary question should be to clarify the reply you've been given and should not raise...
So they've actually got this is something interesting, and this is something worth bringing up for points in the future. You can bring questions to a scrutiny committee meeting. So if you end up with a reform council and you know that there is a scrutiny meeting happen, you can, as a member of the public, go and ask your question to them. There are like formal procedures in how you do it. As far as I'm aware, trying to remember off the top of my head, you have to approach to begin with your local councillor, and it's something that they have to actually take seriously. They can't just bat it away. It is then up to the committee meeting itself whether that question gets asked. But then again, if that doesn't get asked, well, you can go to your local paper and say, well, reform did not address my question that I wanted to bring up in this scrutiny committee meeting, which again would be quite embarrassing for them. Just something for you to bear in mind in the future. So back to this.
It's any new issues. So if you'd like to go ahead with your supplementary question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Taylor. Yes, so the answer suggested that the council was procuring an outside audit or a kind of review. So I just wondered if that was standard practice, or is that something that's new for this year? And also how much the council expects to have to pay for that external review.
Yep. So as it was already brought up already, as person impersonator already said, they could actually save money if they did not do this audit. If they did not do this audit, they could have saved money. This money is going to come back, and it is not going to produce the kind of results they would hope for. It is not going to win them any favors at all on this front. It is not going to go well for them. I can guarantee you that now. But good evening, by the way, everyone else joining us on here. But yeah, we're going to see what this is, because believe it or not, this is the main theme of this scrutiny committee meeting that we are interested in tonight. This this audit and the fantasy and the hope by Dan Harrison that this is somehow going to reveal all this waste that he can now bring in as savings. We are going to witness a lot of fancy audits on here. Yeah. Very, very true, Vince. Yeah. Genuine auditors are not cheap. They aren't. Auditors cost money. They know what they're doing. It takes a long time to do it. It's a skill to do. You have to go through every single number, every single receipt with a fine-tooth comb. It takes time. It takes big teams. There are companies dedicated to this. I know someone who works as a forensic auditor, and they do a ton of work. They will, he once told me about a story where they were flown to South Africa secretly so that they could audit this company. The auditor jobs, big importance that they do provide, and especially to the council. Does the council not have their own? Yes, the council do have their own auditors. This is it, Trip. The council does continuously audit itself every single time. But, of course, remember, who's in charge. It's these people who do not believe that the council officers, the people who work in the council, do not believe them. So the councillors do not believe the council officers, even when they've done audits saying, yeah, there's literally no more money to cut on this. So let's get on into this. Let's find out what the response to this question is.
So just picking up those two questions, it's standard both in this council and other councils to get outside bodies in to do a review. That said, this is a new review. It's not a continuation of anything from previous years. So this is a new review 2025. In terms of how much the review is expected to cost, it's currently out for competitive tender. So until those tenders come.
So bear in mind that is the I believe that's the new deputy. Is it? Yes, it is. It's the new deputy after he got after he got the sack.
Come back and evaluate it. We won't know how much the cost is going to be.
Thank you.
So typical council stuff, by the way. It's out for tender. We don't know how much it's going to cost. You could, of course, maybe give an estimate, because it could be very easy to give an estimate of that. Oh. Yeah, that is exactly what they want to do. They've been trying to do this and demand access and clearance to this. Some information they do have access to, but it's some information, even as a councillor, you do not have access to. It is technically listed as like private information. That's like sensitive information. So they are not just going to give it out to people, even if you're a councillor, because where then does that information end up? Yeah, exactly. He claimed it's standard practice, so he should have a ballpark figure. Exactly. This isn't, oh, well, we don't know yet. It's out for tender. I guarantee you now, you could go and track down that tender and you would find an estimate. You would find somewhere maybe an estimate of what this council is willing to pay for that. That is normally in most tenders what they are willing to spend.
Thank you, Mr. Sayers, for your question. You're obviously now welcome to remain in the meeting, or you can leave if you prefer.
Thank you.
On to item 3, questions asked by members under Standing Order 7. I've not received any questions. Item 4, I have no urgent items. So on to item 5, declarations of interest from respect on the agenda. Does anyone have any interest they wish to declare? No, nothing. Item 6 is declarations of the party whip. Do any members wish to declare the party whip? No, nothing. Okay, and on to item 7, presentation of petitions under Standing Order 36. I've not received any petitions. So on to the main substantive item 8, the first one. So this is the medium-term financial strategy, budget monitoring and strategy update on pages 11 to 12, but we've also received a supplementary that was circulated to members on the 3rd of September and was also published on the website. That's the main report that we're looking at today. Simone Hines, Assistant Director Corporate Resources, will be introducing the report, and she's joined by Declan Keegan, Director. The lead member for Finance is unable to join us today, so we're joined by the leader, Mr. Harrison. So welcome, Mr. Harrison. So Simone, please.
And once again, I want to point out the guy who's the cabinet member for finances is not there at a scrutiny committee meeting where it's his portfolio that is being scrutinized. Typical reform. What a surprise. Oh, Chris C, good evening. Good evening to you, and good evening to everyone else joining us as well. Like I say, strap yourselves in. This is the Leicestershire the Scrutiny Committee meeting hearing that happened just last Monday on this. So we're going to find out about this. What's going to go on here? Person impersonator. Reform, of course, make absenteeism into an art form. Absolutely. Daily Blairs, good evening. Good evening to you. Hope everyone is very, very well. We are indeed, although I don't know. We're about to watch this reform committee meeting, this scrutiny committee meeting. So yeah, expect some peak foolishness to happen on this.
Just go ahead. Thank you. So the first section of the report details the position for the current financial year, and it shows a forecast overspend of 8.1 million, and that is based on trends at the end of July and then forecast forward, assuming that those trends stay the same. There's two main drivers of that overspend. Firstly is children's social care placements, currently forecasting around a £10 million overspend. That's due to both an increase in the overall number of children that we currently have in care, but particularly more children in residential care. That is the most costly type of provision that we have to provide, and can often cost several thousands of pounds per week.
See that have to provide. Remember, one of the big things that councils, these reform councils, again, I want to run into problems in, is that a lot of the stuff they want to cut, they are mandated to provide. It's called a statutory mandate. So they have to like provide these services. If not, they might end up getting sued. And that in itself is going to cost them some money. Oh. Chris C, this is only just 2 counties over from me, considering Staffordshire County Council is Reform UK controlled. This will be of interest to me. Oh, don't worry. I worry in May. I do worry my own council's going to end up going reform. The question is just, is it a minority or do they end up in a majority? If it's a majority, oh boy, on that one. Person impersonator, these meetings are compelling horror shows. They are, unfortunately. But it's good because this gets people interested in local politics. My genuine hope is that over these next couple of years, you are going to get, I think, a lot of people really interested in not only how local politics works, but actually really caring about what happens in their local politics and showing more of an interest. I really do hope that this is what happens as a consequence when reform starts to absolutely go completely belly up on some of these councils. Very much so. Yeah. I know they're trying to withdraw the Send transport contract in Staffordshire. Yep. That is the big one that they are trying to do. Withdraw transport, not only just for Send, but for kids in rural areas as well.
Secondly, we are seeing continued increase in demand for special educational needs provision, and we are forecasting a deficit of £45 million this year. Now, we did budget for a deficit, as we have done for several years, but the budgeted deficit was 15 million, so there has been a significant further increase, even compared to that budgeted deficit. That's largely because we've had about a 25% increase in the number of packages, the number of EHCP packages that we've got in place at the moment, and that's an increase since last year. Whilst special educational needs provision is funded separately from the dedicated schools grant, that is significantly underfunded at the moment and is placing a strain on sort of wider council finances. And members might recall that there is a statutory override in place which allows the council to keep that deficit off balance sheet and not have to deal with the funding implications. That is only temporary. Government have extended it until March 28. But it does urgently need to consider how those deficits are going to be dealt with when that override ends. The council has got a strategy of making a partial provision towards that deficit so that it does have some provision for when the override ends, but it's not.
Yeah, I honestly, what I should do is I should really get a counter in the corner that just counts up every single time she says statutory. I really should. Really should do that. Person impersonator, we need to wake up faster than the Americans did. This is a foretaste of a PM Farage. Oh, here's the thing. If one of these councils goes up, I think this blows it. If one of these reform councils goes bankrupt, what happens to Farage? What happens to his party? You know, I keep on saying this. You know, the next general election is a long way off. Farage isn't going to be able to keep that momentum up forever. He literally can't. Chris C, but we also have to wake up to the reason why voters are returning to reform, because Labour is making such a mess of the basics. It's not really making that much of a mess of the basics. I mean, in this sort of session in the next couple of months, we've got a couple of big bills coming up. I think a lot of people still, and I will keep on saying this, a lot of people are focusing on the fact that since 2016, up until 2024, we had an absolutely batshit insane, crazy government constantly, fouling up weekly. It was a good week if there was just one scandal. We've actually gone numerous weeks where there hasn't been a scandal. But I think a lot of people are still, I don't know, traumatized, worried by the fact that we do have a somewhat normal, dare I say, boring government, and this is how it used to be prior to 2016 on this. But anyway, let's crack on. Like I say, this is a 3-hour committee meeting, and we're only about 5 minutes in.
At the level of total deficit, which will exceed 100 million by the end of this year if that current demand continues. This also puts strain on the council in other ways. So we are cash flowing that deficit, so it does impact on lost investment income, and we are also expecting a knock-on impact on send transport potentially, as well as those children that receive those packages also require transport as well. Given that those two issues are the most significant pressures at the moment, the Director of Children's Services is looking at options to manage that demand. And I think there's actually a scrutiny workshop on Send in a couple of weeks. Just aside from Children's and Send, other council services are operating largely within budget. We do have increased investment income and some reduced inflation costs, which are helping to mitigate some of that overspend. We also do have an £8 million risk contingent.
That is actually worth bringing up, actually. Inflation. That is something well worth bringing up. Inflation has been a big pressure on councils in particular. Really a big pressure on councils in particular. So if inflation starts to go down, it's a good thing for pretty much all these councils. And bear in mind, as I do not want any of these councils to go bust, even if it's being run by reform. Because if it does, then that means the people of this area, people receiving, they might be SEND, there might be special needs, adult social care, etc. Those people in those, counties, they will suffer. I do not want that to happen at the end of the day. But with these people in charge, they are making it more and more likely. So let's remember, for every moment we laugh at reform, unfortunately, there is going to be a human cost at the other side of it. And it is all on them. They're now the ones in charge. They're the one making these decisions. They came into these jobs in the election claiming that they're going to be wonderful, amazing. Aren't we going to hit the ground running and, wipe away all these council inefficiencies and find out, all these secret money vaults that the council just haven't opened? It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Durham, Darren Grimes is really going to get an absolute riding over the next couple of months with their financials, because people forget he's also the chief financial officer for Durham. I'm sorry, Durham. You have my deepest sympathies. You have my deepest sympathies on that one.
contingency that we include in the budget. We haven't yet allocated that because it's still quite early on in the year. The focus is on managing those overspends and identifying underspends and other mitigations. But we do have that provision that does give us some comfort over the year. Then if I just turn to the next section, which is the capital programme, and you'll see that is largely on track with the approved budget. There's just one exception where we have an emerging pressure on school places programme. So that's the programme to provide additional school places either by new builds or extending existing schools. The shortfall is there's a combination of reasons for that, but one of the most significant is changing the DFE methodology of grant funding, which has led to a shortfall there. We have identified funding for immediate priority projects, which is included in this report, but there is a larger unfunded amount that we're still reviewing, but that will need to be considered as part of the next budget report when we bring the draft budget through to December. And just as a reminder as well, we do have a shortfall.
Yep. Oh, these honestly, when they start giving their budgets out in December, December might be a very busy month covering all these councils because that's when we're going to find out what they're really cutting. We still don't know what's going to happen with the Doggle unit or their Doge unit down in Kent so far. We don't know what, Zia Yusuf, because he's in charge of that. So we'll see what happens there, but they haven't reported anything spectacular yet, as far as I'm aware. I don't know if they've got a meeting planned this week, but it might be. It might be indeed.
In the capital programme over the next 4 years, and any further pressures in that school places programme is just going to make that shortfall worse. Okay, so then just move on in terms of the MTFS section, which is towards the end of the report. This looks ahead at the update of the medium-term financial strategy and also the budget process for 26-27. This is particularly difficult at the moment because we do have lots of moving parts. We've had the spending review announced in June and then the fair funding consultation. That was issued in June and does set out potential changes to the way that funding is allocated across all local authorities. Details are really high level at the moment, but it does appear that county...
That's something else that is going to happen as well. The fair funding formula changing. That is actually going to be a big benefit to a lot of areas. Because always remember, as Rishi Sunak once said in an infamous moment, we changed the funding formula to take about all that money away from those poor areas and give it to the richer areas. Yeah. How well did that work out? So at least it does seem that Labour are going to undo that.
Councils generally have fared better than we might have expected from those proposals, but they are only draft. They could be subject to change. I'm obviously aware there were some political changes over the weekend that may impact on that as well. So it will need to wait until much later on in the autumn before we get a clearer picture about the impact on the council, and particularly the finance settlement, which is normally released just before Christmas. Also worth bearing in mind, I think that there is likely to be lobbying from other parts of local government as well, because London and districts particularly don't do very well from those proposals, and we imagine they were making their case. So there's a lot that could still change with those proposals. I think either way, though, we don't expect the impact of fair funding or the spending review to significantly improve council's finances, especially given some of the pressures that you can see in the report around social care and SEND. So we are continuing to focus on delivering the existing savings targets we've got in the MTFS, and also focusing on accelerating further savings under development. We have last week issued the tender for an external efficiency review as well, which will be a comprehensive review of the council's current cost base and looking for further opportunities to identify savings. We are...
Oh, look! Did you hear that? They're tendering out for Doggle. They're doing an external tender for an efficiency review. Just that poor woman. That poor woman. She probably works for the council, and she knows full well, why are we doing this when we can do it internally and save a load of cash? But no, we have to tender out for it because people like Dan Harrison do not believe their own council officers. So it's in effect wasting money. He's in effect wasting so much money that could be saved elsewhere. Has Reform ever considered that these rise of state-mentored children could be linked to the rise in population, or would that pop their anti-net zero rants? Quite probably. You know, they're not really, of course, done, are they? And yet, Chrissy, that's a fair point. Would those consulting companies have any links to reform councillors by any chance? Well, it's a fair question that should be put to these councils, and of course, should be sorted out in the tender process. Bear in mind, if you have never ever done a tender for a government or local council, oh boy. Oh boy, do you have to provide a lot of information. It is a exhaustive process. And of course, you actually have to say, do you know anyone who is a councillor? Do you know anyone who might be a councillor on that thing? And of course, if you lie and you get the tender, well, you get in a lot of trouble. That has happened in the past, where some people thought they could sneak it through. But that just, again, goes to show you that people who work in these councils actually do a far, far, far better job than any of these Reform UK people claim.
We are expecting to be able to award that tender towards the end of October, and we will bring a further update back on that, probably alongside the budget proposals to this committee in December. That's probably all I need to add on the report itself, but happy to take any questions.
Can I just clarify one point before I go up to questions? You just mentioned about the schools budget being pressured, the normal dedicated schools grant, as well as the high needs block. So will we be overspending on the schools budget as well? Can you just clarify?
So it's the capital, it's the Schools Places Capital Programme, where we've got a shortfall in funding for the provision for new places.
Thank you. Just wanted to clarify that. Okay, members, questions? James?
Thank you very much for the presentation, Simone. Just got a question. I mean, in terms of perhaps more for the leader, but for anyone that sort of contributed and helped. In a recent,
I wish we had things in front of them to say which party are they from, because you can't actually see or tell which party they're from. This is one of the big problems where these councils still need to improve their live streaming stuff on this.
Social media post, the lead member for Health, Mr. Squire, said that the administration is cutting waste and not services and making huge savings. Can the leader confirm that services will not be cut? And would he?
And here we go. Here we go. Straight into it. Straight into it. Can you confirm that you are going to only cut waste and not services? We'll probably find out in a couple of months how he's probably lied to these people straight to their faces. And oh boy, will those meetings be spicy in possibly December or even January, whenever it happens to be.
You'd be able to identify what those huge savings are and give us a little bit of detail on that, please.
I can confirm that we have no intentions to cut services. There's a lot of complications.
You heard it there first. Remember this now in a couple of weeks or even months, where we find out, oh yes, they actually have cut services in Leicester or in Leicestershire. Dan Harrison has just said right there they will not be cutting services. Clip it and ship it.
We're looking at a budget that's your budget, and it's absolutely shocking. I did indeed, but I also fought hard to bring some reduction. It was 72 million in my day of trying to avert what we now have before us, which is disastrous, massive MTF out of control. Special needs isn't quite so much, it's a problem, but I mean, you didn't create that problem, that's happened itself, but the managing the budget is all down to you. So it is bad, something has to happen. We can't carry on with this. We can't carry on with the idea that tax is high and cuts are plentiful. So that's my rebuttal to that and my statement.
We can't carry on that taxes are high and cuts are plentiful. But this is a guy who ran on the idea that that's what there was, that we can slash all the taxes and just bring down council tax, and then we can just annihilate all the waste and everything will be fine and great. Yeah. Exactly. That is the first lie. That is the first lie.
It is shocked, appalled at what we're seeing in figures, and it is absolutely awful. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Harrison, I should have come to you before I went to members. So is there anything else you want to add before I ask for further questions?
No, thank you, Madam Chairman.
So obviously that sort of indicated that the budget was horrendous and you've been left with a mess. Can you pinpoint some of those things that you found that are indicating that that was the issue, please?
I can guarantee you what's going to happen now. He's going to blame the previous administration.
Well, that's in due process. We will have people coming in to investigate how we operate, to look at the efficiency and how it can be best managed. So, you know, we've had efficiencies in services before, because all existing members would remember the TOMS programme, which was 10 million saving in adult and communities. So there's a lot of work got to be done. So it's just impossible to preempt anything at this stage other than welcoming this programme coming forward.
But you just said in your opening response to James that there was issues with the budget that you've identified. So are you able to give some examples of those?
Yeah. Give us examples. Where have you found this waste that you've got? I actually really like the fact she is holding his feet to the fire on this. Good on her for doing that.
Issues that you've identified within the current budget that you're operating under that are mistakes?
I prefer not to mention any detail that may reflect on what's going to happen. The budget is there. Anybody can look at it. There's lots of people who have their own opinions and views of the budget. So it would be out of order for me today to try to start pinpointing. There will be people advising and guiding, and I think that's the appropriate way to do it.
Yes. I've been asked a question that I'd have no answer to, so I'm just going to avoid that question. What on earth? What on earth is that as an answer to that question? Can you please pinpoint me any, areas where you've made these savings, please? Oh, I'm not going to do that today. I'm not going to do that today. God, he is putting so many eggs in that audit basket. He is hoping that audit comes back with this. He is so hoping for that. Yeah. So that's a no. He can't say where the horror is. He just told us about was. It's out there, but I'm not going to identify any today. Yeah, it's like the X-Files. The truth is out there. All the waste is just out there. Still to find. Someone get Mulder and Scully on the case. Good Lord. Good Lord, is this going to be... This is going to get really bad. This is going to get really bad. When we come to, December, where they've got to, put your plans forward. we're going to be eating good. We're going to be so many of these councils. We're going to be eating good. So many. And like I say, I can't wait for the next scrutiny meeting in Warwickshire, because I think that might be quite spicy when that happens. Also, can't wait for the next one to happen in Durham, because similar questions are going to have to be asked of Darren Grimes, which, oh boy, him answering those types of questions is going to be very interesting.
Say less at the moment might be plentiful in time, and it's silly to comment on stuff that may not be that way when the review starts and it happens, but it will be meaningful and it will have in-depth revelations and guidance for us, hopefully, to go forward.
Oh, it's going to have in-depth revelations. My word, he is putting everything. He is putting everything in that audit. He's putting all his eggs in one basket. Oof. Yeah, I think Harrison's going to end up with egg on his face eventually when that audit review comes back. Yeah. If in doubt, double down. Exactly. Exactly. He's just doubled down on the audit review. And if he can't identify any now, what is he going to find? What is he going to, suddenly sprout out from this? Honestly, clowns. Absolute clowns. Yeah, exactly, Darren. In other words, he has no examples because there isn't any. What a clown. Yeah. Insane.
I'm trying to be helpful, but I can't go beyond that.
You've not really been helpful because you actually made the statement yourself just now.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Hold on, we're gonna get this back. I'm gonna replay that. I think she's gonna absolutely lay into him on this one. So let's we just review what he just said there.
I'm trying to be helpful, but I can't go beyond that.
You've not really been helpful because you actually made the statement yourself just now. So you've obviously got to base that statement on some information. So at least give us one example of what you've seen.
I'm not prepared to open a door at
The steel chair from the steel chair from the chairman on that one. And of course, he's not prepared, not prepared to be helpful on this, even though apparently he's being so helpful. Good Lord. Oh my word. I thought this might be good. I thought this might be good, and it is. This is truly good Sunday night entertainment. Oh. Yep. Got their savings next year? No external audits. That is the only thing that you know how to do when faced with basic questions. Double down, deflect, and divert. Yep. He's found absolutely nothing. I hope he's embarrassed when he sees this played back. I hope he is as well. I hope he is as well, to be honest. Because honestly, it does not look good. This does really not look good. This is awful. This is awful. This might be the Liz Truss of someone running a council, quite frankly. Really is. Really does look like it.
So at least give us one example of what you've seen.
I'm not prepared to open a door at this stage while there's people tendering, and it's important. I don't want to create any problems going forward. That's where I am. Anybody could see, I've got colleagues sitting here today who may want to ask questions. I know the inside track from what I know, but when I've got people coming in who will know and understand it far better than I, and I wait to hear their comments and recommendations. But standing aside, I can see that it is fairly serious and bad, the situation we're in. And I think anybody can see that. You don't have to be clever to see that. You've heard Simone's very accurate synopsis of where we are this morning. So that's where I am. But it is awful. It is absolutely awful. And it needed.
If it's awful, where are your examples? Oh no, we can't open that door. Lost for words on that one. Lost for words.
Some sort of adjustment some time back, and I did try to make an adjustment, but it wasn't acceptable. So I leave it there. The experts will come in, they will do their job correctly, they will brief senior officers and myself.
Why get experts in when those people already exist in the council? But oh, that's right. People like this guy, remember, do not trust council officers. They do not trust people who work for the council. So, we have to get these external people in. Because clearly they're not doing a good enough job. I would think for most people who work in these councils, I would bet you now that morale in these reform councils is going to be at an all-time low. Jesus. Yeah. I wouldn't trust this fellow with a brush, let alone a council budget. Well, unfortunately, he is in charge of the council budgets. But oh yeah, his financial officer couldn't attend.
We will know where we're going to be able to make a sensible decision backed by authority and authoritative views.
So you just mentioned there that you found £72 million worth of alterations that you want to do to previous budgets. So can you give us an idea of what areas those were included in, so we can get some idea of where your thoughts going?
My thoughts was just looking at the MTFs. It's as easy as that. You
need to pinpoint what you can't just say the MTFS. You just said £70 million.
Yeah.
So what areas were you looking at to get those 72 million of savings? To give us some indication of where you're going.
Not at this stage. Not at this stage. You may snigger and smile, but it's out to tender a document, and people will be tendering. And for me to make statements that could prejudice that, I'm not prepared to do it. Thank you.
So I get you don't know. Right, Craig.
Yeah, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. She's right. Oh, but I can't because it might jeopardize the tender process. I don't think it would, because this is a public forum. It's a public meeting. At that point, every company that was tendering would also have that information if they were to seek it out. It's not. I don't think it would jeopardize the tender process. But no, he just doesn't have an answer. It's just hoping that whoever gets that tender can come up with some savings somehow.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, basically, I'd just like to highlight again that the lead member for finance is missing again, but I would like to thank Mr. Harrison for standing in for her. Can you also confirm that back in May you made lots of promises on your election material that you would be cutting tax? Is that still standing, bearing in mind the report that we've just received? And you mentioned as well that you've got people coming in. Are you not confident that you've got the skill set within your own administration to make the...
Thank you so much for that question. Who is this guy? C. Smith. Excellent question. Very good indeed. You made all these promises. Are you going to stick to those promises? No, they are not. We know they're not. They're not going to stick to their promises on tax at all. And that is another fair question. Do you not believe that your own people are talented to do this enough? And I would also follow up. What about an internal audit? Because council have their own internal auditors. Why are you not using them when it's their job to do that? God, this is honestly so painful to watch. This is so. This is so insane. Anyway, Chris C wouldn't have any effect on the tender process. This clown doesn't have a single clue what he's talking about. Very true. Yeah, like someone walking across the channel, he's very quickly out of his depth.
But you've got people coming in. Are you not confident that you've got the skill set within your own administration to make these savings and produce a balanced budget? Thank you.
Thank you. Our intention is always to have low taxes. Still on that platform, I stand by it today. Our intention is to bring in a strategic review, which is happening, and that will be able to tell everybody where we are and what we're doing and everything else. So we believe in low tax, but low, reducing costs where we can to the public, and it's as simple as that. The real work will be done when these people come in who spend a career doing the work they do, who are specialists in that field.
You have those people already who work in the council who do that. Why aren't you using them? Oh, that's right. He doesn't trust them. He doesn't believe them. So he has to get external people. And I have to wonder what happens when this audit comes back and it's not what he wants to see. It's not what he wants to hear. Is he going to put out another tender in hope that someone else is going to do this? And if that comes back the same thing, then what? How many tenders is this guy going to put out for external audits? It sure seems like he's going to put in a lot. He's going to put in so much on this, on one. Yeah, because reform internal audit, because of course internal auditors will of course be fair and impartial. External auditors will of course be hired by Reform UK with a mission now to find waste and most likely have links to the councillors. Very true. And of course, yeah, he's Reform. He's anti-channel crossings anyway. Very true. But good evening to everyone joining us, by the way. Welcome to us watching this scrutiny committee from Leicestershire Council. Councillor Dan Harrison is absolutely getting a mauling on this because he's cashing checks that his mouth literally not going to be able to write in a couple of months. But worth bearing in mind remembering all this because in a couple of months he's going to have to put a budget forward in December, and when that happens, oh boy, are we going to have some real fun?
And come in and review and see where we are, and I think that's the answer.
Okay, thank you, Leader. You've not actually answered. I said, do you have the skill set within your administration to produce a balanced budget? I didn't ask whether these people were qualified to do so, although I do have misgivings about that. So could you answer the question, please?
Yeah, indeed. These are external, so they have a different viewpoint to people who are here. We have excellent officers, good at the job, but this is very specialised to be able to do what's got to happen to review it. So in simple terms, yes, the decision is made. Yes, it's out to tender. Yes, by November, we could have a team on site. And it's as simple as that. This isn't ridiculing anybody. This is about bringing in people.
It absolutely is. Oh, my word. Right? If this ever gets to like one of these councillors who was in the room, right? You have an absolute open goal to maul this guy because you can now turn around and lay into the fact and start asking him some so awkward questions. Like, why don't you get the internal audit staff to do it? If they need, quote, specialized training, you can literally put a question right there and then to the council exec and who's over there, down on that side, 2 seats away from him. Ask them, do these staff have that training? I guarantee you they do. And you can just lay into him for wasting so much money on these external audits and putting this out to tender. Just absolutely lay into him. Lay into the fact that none of these people, none of his own councillors can do their job that they've been elected to do. Yeah. Exactly. Internal auditors will be specialized in local authority budgets. External auditors do not have that specialization or experience. Exactly. Exactly. Billy Kershaw, that is a very good question, actually, Billy. So what happens if they stole the budget? Well, here's the thing. The financial budget, the actual budget has to be in place and put forward by February to be, I believe, then be voted on in like the following month. I believe. I'm desperately trying to like remember like council rules and procedures here, so I might have this wrong, but they have to put it out by December because you've got to have it out by December so that all the other opposition councillors and that your own councillors have enough time to scrutinize it, because this is a big document. You know, this is a big thing for them to look at. They have to be able to look at and do it, and they cannot stall. Right? They literally cannot stall on this. This is something that has to be. You have to hit the deadlines. You have to hit the deadlines. And there will be, put it this way, there might be consequences where national government has to come in and maybe take over. There are consequences. I'm not exactly sure what those would be, but one of them I definitely know would be that national government has to come in at that point. Anyway, where were we? So, yeah, person state. Yeah, the joys of looking scrutiny committee meetings up on a website. Yeah, this is another thing, Vince. I have so many problems. Council websites, they are so labyrinthian, right? You are lucky, right, that Leicestershire County Council put their video recordings up on YouTube. At least they're easy to find. You just look up Leicestershire County Council, bang, they're there. Other councils put them on their own internal websites and their own internal servers. So then you have to go through council websites to try and find where those are. Oh boy, nightmare. Oh. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, someone needs to ask the question, how much the tender is going to cost the council taxpayer? Again, very good point on that one, Chris. Shouldn't the trained internal auditors, of course, be the ones advising now on the rare occasions when external auditors have those specialized skills and, of course, required? Anyway. Yep. Exactly. They have the people already in the administration to do it. But remember, this guy, Harrison, and the rest of these reform people do not trust council officers or council workers. So they will not trust them as far as they can throw them. But anyway, let's get back to this.
people who do it night and day as a big industry at high levels. So these are people who are very accustomed to doing it day and night, what they do, and it's a lot easier for them to come in.
You have people in the council offices who do that. Jesus Christ. Jesus wept. Jesus.
Who have those specialist skills. Our officers are very specialised within all their own departments. So it is a different thing.
Okay, so bearing in mind that you've not answered the question for the second time, do you have the required skills within your administration to produce a balanced budget? Not externally, within your administration. And also, I think every member around this room, no matter what political stripe colour we wear, we all would like to have the aspiration of lower taxes. We wouldn't get elected if we wanted to put taxes up. That's not anything that anybody in this room would want to see. You specifically said, on your literature, specifically said, bearing in mind that you were on the previous administration, you knew exactly the financial position we were in, but you still said specifically that you would have tax cuts, not the aspiration of tax cuts, tax cuts.
Correct.
Do you still stand by that?
Absolutely, 100%. 100%. Thank you.
Right, tax cuts
I know
at some point.
Sort of said you can't say anything and it's all secret and that sort of stuff about the eternal commissioning, but they are consultants that you're looking to bring in that will have a cost to the local authority. Can you just confirm that there will be a cost because they're external consultants?
I can confirm there'll be a cost, Madam Chairman, but couldn't discuss it any further because it's a live tender document.
So also you went out condemning the previous administration for using consultants to operate this council. So why are you now following that same path?
Ooh. Okay. Good question. Good question on that one. Very good question on that one. Oh boy. Oh boy. You've got to love an experienced counsellor who can just play with these people like putty. Absolute play with them like putty. Exactly, Billy. Oof. So before we get on into this absolute body blow that Harrison has just taken, because oh boy, what a body blow that was. I'm gonna go recharge my glass because I think we're gonna need it for the next fight. So have a quick comfort break and we'll come back and we'll find out just how severe this body blow was, because oh boy, that really was something. But anyway, we'll be back in a moment. And we're back. So, good evening to everyone joining us, by the way. And like I say, welcome everyone back. I will give just a quick rundown of just what just happened because you just basically saw the equivalent of Stone Cold Steve Austin running out of nowhere and steel chairing Hulk Hogan, essentially. I don't know. Those are the only wrestlers I happen to know. I'm not a fan of wrestling, but it is the closest analogy I could think of. So you have the chair. You have the chair here who is questioning Harrison on the fact he was part of the previous administration. So as Vince points out, Harrison was right. Harrison is an ex-Tory. Harrison is a switcher. Harrison is very, very much a switcher. So all these Tories know Harrison. And bear in mind, even though he was part of the previous administration, he was not a cabinet member. Because you've got to remember, most of these people who were ex-Tories or, people who switched, they're not exactly like the rising stars or like the peak people in these parties. No, they've switched because they know if they switch, they get like prime positions like Harrison. That is what they are. That is what they are looking at. So remember, he was part of the previous administration. He said and criticized at the time the last administration, which he was a part of. You are running this council by having too many consultants. Why you bring all these consultants in? Harrison is starting his career as leader of the council by putting out to tender not just two big groups of consultants, which are going to cost the taxpayer in Leicestershire a fair penny. These people are not going to be cheap. These people are not going to be cheap. So she's now just absolutely gut punched him by saying, you criticized us so much for bringing in consultants. Why are you bringing in consultants now? So let's find out how big a body blow this was. But just so we can see it again, we'll just skip back a couple of moments just so we can see it.
Document.
So also you went out condemning the previous administration for using consultants to operate this council. So why are you now following that same path?
Well, no, I'm not sure I can remember condemning, but there's a lot happened over the last 2 or 3 years in your old organisation
That you were part of.
that I was part of.
Right.
But I was the one who wanted to see cost cuts, and I was rejected. So it's as simple as that. I stand firm on my belief, and I believe that cutting costs is essential moving forward.
Well, I've asked you what those cuts were that you wanted to bring forward, and you haven't been able to give me any information. So you're happy to pay, considering the position we're in, for consultants to come into this local authority, you're happy to spend taxpayers' money on those consultants?
They will.
He is getting an absolute mauling. He is getting an absolute mauling on this. I mean, what can you say? They are absolutely mauling him. Everyone so far has just been landing constant blows on this guy. He's just absolutely blow after blow after blow. How he's still standing, who knows? But he is.
Will give us a synopsis right at the beginning of the process once they've looked, and then there will be a negotiation. It's as simple as that.
But there will be a cost for them to come and look.
Yes.
So you're happy to spend taxpayers' money on a consultant to come and look?
To get the cost reductions that we're looking at, most certainly.
Okay. Phil?
Mr. Harrison, thanks very much for showing up today. As Mr. Smith said, it's a shame that the lead member for finance isn't here, but I understand other things crop up.
Could I just say, sorry, Madam Chair, it's been mentioned twice, she's on holiday. So,
Well, that's what it says. Other things crop up. Okay.
okay.
So, but I do hope the lead member for finance will be here.
She's on holiday. Jesus. I mean, it's not like you've just had an entire month off where they could have gone on holiday. And he's upset that he's upset. He's upset that they're doing that. Jesus. I lost for words. Lost for words. Anyway, let's see what this guy's going to go in on.
At the next meeting in later on this year. So just picking up what you just mentioned, Mr. Harrison, at the previous meeting back in the summer, you announced that, so let's just roll back a little bit. Back to the election, your National Party leader made a lot of comments about something called Doge, okay? Whatever that is. And you, when we asked you that question back in the summer, you said you weren't getting Doge in, you were going to appoint some consultants, and the officer, Simone, has just mentioned that there's a tender process. I'm still not very clear how much money we're going to has been allocated for this management consultants to come in, but just listening to what's been said about the timeline, if the tender's only going to be finished by late October and the consultants will be appointed maybe to start in November, maybe late November, that's incredibly late in the budget making process.
Yep. How are they going to have this time? Especially if these auditors don't come back with what he wants, that they're going to save all this money. This is, again, a fantastic body blow on him. This isn't, this is, he's just, someone call the police, murder, help, this guy.
Of this authority, given that we have to find potential savings, efficiencies, as you put them, or cuts that you've identified but short harm front-end services, in time to bring forward for our budget approval meeting in February. That doesn't leave very long at all to bring forward anything substantive. Now, what you just mentioned is a strategic review. Now, that's something that's very, very different, I would have thought, in scale and content to the sort of thing that you initially were talking about and your national leader was talking about, which was efficiencies. So what I'm just trying to understand from you.
Yeah, calling that out, that all what they're asking for, what they're doing is process, and some of the processes they're talking about don't necessarily match up to some of the stuff what they're talking about. Again, fair point of scrutiny on that point from this guy.
Is, if these management consultants come in, are they actually going to have enough time to actually deliver any meaningful program in time to go through the democratic decision-making process here at the council, scrutiny and all of that, in time for the budget? And I just wonder, if you've got any thoughts about that at all.
Yes.
The real answer is no. There's not going to be enough time. With the kind of things they are wanting to do, he is not going to have enough time. I don't see how they're going to do it. I just do not see how they are going to get this budget done in time. It's insane. And yeah, Vince, again, good point. If Harrison was a total newbie, then of course he might of course not know the budget procedure, but he isn't. He's been a councillor since 2017. Exactly. This guy should know. He should know better. He should know so much more better. But he doesn't. This is going to end very badly, honestly. Very badly indeed. And you have my sympathies if you live in Leicestershire. you could be into some very bad times indeed, quite frankly.
It has took time to sort of go through this journey, but we've been working hard for a long time for this. We believe that it will be appropriate and it will be most helpful to us. I can't go into great detail because, as I say, we're still at this tender stage. So not ever so helpful, but confident that it can have an impact enough to us to be able to make decisions of importance.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
To make decisions of importance, these people you are bringing in, if this is going to be decided at like the end of October, when these people are going to get chosen, right? They are going to have a month, or even maybe even less time than that, because remember, they've got to produce a draft of this in December to have it all ready to be voted on in February. Just, this is insane. This is insane. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds to me like he's deliberately trying to sabotage the council. Yeah, you know, Billy, if I was not at this point, so familiar with like the incompetence of Reform UK, I would agree with you. However, I am far too familiar at this point with the incompetence of Reform UK. So I can fully tell you, Billy, this isn't deliberate sabotage. This is just pure incompetence. Absolute pure incompetence. Because there is no way he has any time to do this stuff. Yeah, as Vince points out, it is September and he's currently out for tender, not even appointed yet. They will not even have enough time to do the job properly. Exactly. There is zero chance of doing this. Most councils now are already finalizing or normally finalizing their budget, ready to be initially presented in December. And then very little between December and the February deadline changes. Yeah, it does seem like, yeah, fake it till you make it in public service. The problem is there's lots of consequences. A lot of consequences when that happens. Yeah. Should be fake it till you break it. Very true. Yeah, they're just stuck on the fake it phase. Very true. But this is no different to what we've been seeing on other councils. This is absolutely no difference to what we've been seeing on other councils. This is just classic incompetence. Absolute classic incompetence here from Reform UK. Absolute peak classic incompetence.
Mr. Harrison, that hasn't really given me any clarity whatsoever on what I just asked you. I asked you if you think that the programme you're appointing these consultants, do you, as a leader of the county council, believe that there is sufficient time to develop a programme of savings between late November and the middle of February? Because
I'll make it easy this time.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
I'll make it easy. Yeah.
Go on, then.
Yes.
You think there is? Okay.
Yeah,
That's what this is what we're looking for. Answers, Mr. Harrison,
yeah.
not waffle.
Well, Madam Chairman, I object to his behaviour and attitude. I've known him a long time, and his behaviour is not nice. Ask the question. I'll do my very best to answer it.
Thank you.
Truthfully.
Thank you.
But yeah, all right.
I mean, we're here to scrutinise, so we're expecting
well, I don't mind that.
And
I quite enjoy it.
you're not really you're not really answering any of the questions. So I think we're within our right to keep answering the
If
questions.
I may, Chairman, I'm grateful for Mr. Harrison giving a direct answer rather than the one before that. So if I can just carry on, Chair, if I may. So, Mr. Harrison, this isn't just numbers on a page. Behind them, there are real families, children in need, vulnerable adults who can't be left without support. Now, what is very clear to me from reading this MTFS, and it doesn't really matter how we got here, and the fact is we're still the lowest funded county council in England. We've had massive increases in SEND. We've had a massive increase in demand and costs for looking after children, all those things. Some of those things, there's nothing we can do about it. But what I'd like to understand further now is what have you done since the 2nd of May to make representations to government, to the MHCLG and the Treasury, to ask them for additional funding support for Leicestershire? Because it is really important, and I know my colleagues in other...
Nothing. Nothing, essentially, because Farage won't let them. Farage won't let them. Even George Finch in Warwickshire hasn't done anything like that either. Even though he keeps on saying that he's going to take it to Starmer and make sure that, Warwickshire gets its fair share of funding. Hasn't written a letter, hasn't gone to visit the Treasury or anything like that. Whoops. Because Farage won't let them, apparently.
Other groups are very keen on this, as are we. But I'm just trying to understand what actions have you actually undertaken to make representations on behalf of Leicestershire County Council and the residents and service users that we do to actually ask them for support towards covering off the MTFS shortfall? Because, we're looking at 39 million for next year based on all the known knowns and unknowns at the moment. And that's an awful lot of money. And just if I can help you a little bit further, last week, we sat in a meeting here, Adult Social Care, and the officers went through a programme of potential savings, which they couldn't put a number on, and they understood that. But that's taken 2 years to work that programme up. So I just go back to my...
Yeah. Shows you, again, they asked the officers, can you do this? It took them 2 years. 2 years. That's how long these things take. That's how long these things take. That's what happens. That's how long it takes for these things to happen and do. This is bad. Like this just makes him just look so bad. I have to wonder if we're going to be seeing some votes of confidence in some of these minority leadership areas. I genuinely have to wonder at what point are we going to see some votes of no confidence? Because in Leicestershire, they are a minority government. At what point will there be a vote of no confidence in Harrison? Honestly, I think it will happen. Maybe sooner rather than later at this point, given this.
The first question to you, which you answered, which you said you believe savings can be identified in 3 months and delivered, and yet I've just identified to you a programme which is underway at the moment, which is very complicated and it's taken 2 years to develop and bring forward, and even now they're still not entirely clear how much money it's going to save. So I'm just trying to understand how in 3 months you're going to deliver what previous administrations worked years in, and we had delivered, but obviously there's still a significant gap. So I'm just wondering what magic thing you've got that we didn't have. Thank you.
Well, Madam Chairman,
yeah. Let's watch him not answer this question, shall we? Because you're probably picking up on the theme that, yeah, Harrison doesn't answer questions.
Thing you've got that we didn't have. Thank you.
Well, Madam Chairman, there's nothing magic in it. It's professionalism. It's understanding there's problems, understanding that whatever's happened over the years isn't adequate enough to be able to meet the wave of costs that are happening around us. So very confident that we can do this, very confident that the decisions we make will be the right and appropriate ones. Regarding government, we wrote to all the MPs seeking their support. That didn't go down too good. So at the end of the day, we've got to take initiatives ourselves. We can't sit here forever shouting at government because they ignore us in any event. On most occasions, we have to take initiatives and say, this is in our hands, as it was in yours. It's in mine today, and I'm determined that what we do will be successful and will be a benefit for the people who are recipients of service. It will be benefit for the public at large through our actions. That's all I'm saying. This is your budget I'm sitting and looking at. You'll have to wait for our budget and then you'll be able to see the differences. But you'll know before then there will be differences. There has to be a change. Can't carry on like this. It's ridiculous. We're going to get.
So what's he going to do different? He just doesn't answer the question. He just doesn't answer the question. Oh, there has to be differences. So what are those differences, Councillor Harrison? What are those differences? Jesus. Yeah, Vince, yeah, the waves of costs, but he doubles down on tax cuts. Yep. Yeah, he is someone who is like Liz Truss. He has his ideology, and his ideology is if we make these efficiency savings, everything's fine, because somehow he is like the only person who has never ever thought of these efficiency savings. Honestly, unbelievable. Yeah, he's a packet of seeds for the magic money tree. Yeah. He's found the magic money tree seeds. But at least he cleared that all up. Magic will not be involved. I mean, that might as well be the answer. Magic. This is insane. This is crazy. But this is the type of thing that should be brought up in, like, when Nigel Farage gets interviewed. Can you explain why, you know, Councillor Harrison, your leader in Leicestershire, is promoting fantasy economics? It would be very interesting to see in these areas whether they do have a reform, you know, council. What happens to the reform vote in those council areas? It'd be very, very interesting to see what happens.
Overwhelmed to the point where we wouldn't be able to sustain it. Something has to happen. And it's as simple as that. And I will keep you informed fully.
To which I hope the response is, what? What are you going to do? This is why you are before us, Mr. Harrison. Why are you not telling us what you are going to do so that we can scrutinize what you are going to do? What seems to be coming across to us, Mr. Harrison, is that you have no ideas, you have no policy, and you have no clue about what you are doing. That would be my response after that.
As soon as we're able to say things, we will. There's no cloak, it's professionalism. There's live tenders. It would be inappropriate for it to be happening without me confiding in you. There are things happening and we're expecting change. I've got an idea of some of it, but I will not talk about it at the moment.
Change.
But I feel absolutely confident what the professionals have said to me, and I feel, yes, we will make change, and it will be.
What have they said to you? What have they said to you, Harrison? Jesus. Please, someone call him out on that.
Quite dramatic, and it will be very, very successful, because these people do it all over the world for other companies, so they know what they're doing, and I have confidence whoever wins the tender will be the appropriate people for us. Thank you.
We look forward to that. Okay,
Indeed.
Paul's.
Thank you very much, Chair. Again, not to sound like a broken record, I do want to come back to the council tax because it was a hot topic on the doorstep. And when I campaigned back in May, there was real optimism that somehow council tax will be reduced. And as members have said, that's something we'd all love to see. I just don't see how it's possible. And one of the few mitigations to this financial black hole we're facing is raising council tax. Every council, whether it be borough, district, county, that is the only option because government have underfunded all councils for so long. So council tax has been the one thing that is some sort of mitigation for that. But by saying you're not going to increase it even minimally and actually reduce it, I fail to see how you can provide the same level of service. And looking through your cuts later on, there's examples from small things like asking schools potentially to pay for crossing guards, which doesn't sound much, but I know from my own schools that I talk to, the budgets don't even extend to paper and pens in most circumstances. And then we've got slightly bigger ones like getting rid of Bow Manor Hall, which is a huge place where children across Leicestershire go to. It's famous. It's part of our identity, and I hate.
What? They're getting rid of Bow Manor Hall. Oh my word! I went to Bow Manor Hall when I was young. Oh, can't get rid of that.
See that go for the next generation. My own children actually are still using that at school. And then finally, other things that we have to go surely are more significant. And we just had an example of that from Mr. King when it comes to the things that were said yesterday, like reducing substance misuse services that I think would be awful if they were lost. So how do you marry that up by saying you're going to cut one thing without reducing service? It doesn't add up. And I'd just like some clarity on that because it was such a big.
Yeah. I think that's what you're going to see. You are going to see them cut services. It's inevitable. Any non-vital services gone. And if he said there, they're going to get rid of the substance abuse stuff. You could see, drug problems in Leicestershire skyrocket. Because that's what happened in Scotland.
Topic, and I'm sure some of your colleagues over there won seats because of promises like that. So I'd just like some more clarity on that because I can't make that add up in my head. Thank you, Chair.
Some of those cost reductions that you're talking about has been enabled by officers moving forward. We're still a business. We've still got things happening. So that's happening, but we've got something else to happen where I can categorically say that our intention is to reduce council tax, protect frontline services through an efficiency that is going to happen that will enable this. Unless we do that, we'll be just swamped. Something has to happen.
But what? What has to happen? My God. The man cannot answer a single question.
Dr. Bloxham. Okay. Mr. Poland, you're next.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, as councillors, politicians of all sorts obviously have ideology, and we have to balance ideology with responsibility, pragmatism, some might say. I as Mr. Smith said, I agree. I would love to see lower taxes. I did join the Conservative Party to increase taxes, and if it was possible to do, I would be fully on board with the leader on that. But as someone that spent the better part of a year in the cabinet and obviously in the same briefings for many years before that, including on this committee, we know the financial difficulties that this authority faces. You've outlined that in response to my previous questions. So for me, my question, I guess, is you're also very clear. I can say you were very clear to Mr. Smith in your response when you said that in the leaflets you said you were lower tax, and you confirmed that kindly today that we will be seeing lower taxes in the budget. How does that then marry in terms of the responsibility to the future of Leicestershire County Council? Like you, I think I'm a Conservative, and I would like to see
It's going to be Liz Truss. He's going to be a local Liz Truss. I mean, I was thinking that Durham might be the first one to go under, but I'll tell you what. Seeing with what they've got in charge now, I think Leicestershire might be the first one to go under. Jesus Christ, you might actually be. I think it will be them. Yeah, I understand now. Instead of doing magic, he's going to do something. Got it. Exactly. What is this something? What is this something? This boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. If I was on the scrutiny committee meeting, I would have lost it by now. I wouldn't be asking a calm question. I'd be accusing him of not knowing what he was doing. I'd be accusing him of being incompetent. Damn the chair if they want to censor me. I would be laying into this guy for his incompetence.
See families, individuals have more money in their own pockets, but
I'm not a conservative.
with a small C, sir. Right, unless you're not, but certainly if like me, you'd like to see individuals keep more money in their pocket, then I would like to see that. But if that comes at the cost of this authority, sort of the future of this authority, we're already talking about was £91 million by 2029 in the budget. We're looking at more than that now as a result of the report today. Do you prioritise, I guess, ideology, the idea that we, as a matter of principle, people should pay less tax and keep more money in their pocket, over the pragmatism and responsibility to the future of this authority? So would you cut tax?
So he's really asking, are you going to adhere to your ideology over the actual reality? He's going to go ideology. No question.
Even if it threatens the long-term future of this authority, because you think as a point of ideology, that's what's important. That's my question.
Thank you. It's a good question as well. Thank you for that. No, the aim is the efficiency will give us the wherewith to be able to say, yes, we can look at council tax. We can look at the overall efficiency.
The efficiencies, the bells. My God. I keep on saying this, but it's honestly, it's true. It really is true. This guy is putting all his eggs in that audit basket. It really is. He is hoping that comes back with something. And I don't think it's going to come back the way he wants. Then what do they do? Then what does he do?
Efficiency and make sure that we protect frontline services. That's been a comment of mine in everybody that's turned up, that I've interviewed with officers, is whatever happens, we're running a business and that business must continue. And our business is about service to public who are in need of our services. So trust me, that will not cross that line. We're here to improve things, not damage.
Sounds exactly what is going to happen, that you are going to damage all those things. My word. Yeah, this is, it's just, who knew that Councillor Harrison was a wizard and was gonna introduce all this wonderful magic, this economic magic. God, I think Leicestershire might end up with its own Liz Truss mini budget at this rate. It sure looks like it. It sure looks like Leicestershire might end up with its own lettuce field. Yeah. That's not a wizard's hat in the cloakroom, it's a traffic cat. Exactly. Exactly, Vince. This is going to be. I think honestly, this is going to be the equivalent of a local mini budget. I've literally just done a video that I think is going to come out tomorrow about Durham. In that video, I was saying, oh yeah, Durham looks like it's going to be the first one to go under. I think it's now going to be Leicestershire. Seeing this, I've got no confidence in this guy. If I was a councillor around here, I'd have no confidence in this guy and gladly tell him to his face. I'm not going no confidence in him.
That will not cross that line. We're here to improve things, not damage things. And the county council going forward is imperative in my mind, the security and the ability to do it. And that's why I believe in unitary authority for Leicestershire going forward, because I think it's so important. This organisation is about 95 years old. It has vast experience through the people who are working in this organisation. And I believe it's...
God, you know what's even scary? We're only about 38, 39 minutes into this video of this 3-hour meeting, and yet here we are almost 2 hours into this live stream. There's just so much stuff he says that's just like, what? 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 It's unbelievable. I've seen stuff about Harrison before, but actually seeing him in action, Jesus, this guy is incompetent. He can't answer any questions. He can't identify these mystical savings that apparently he's already done. Unbelievable.
It's imperative that this organisation succeeds from where we're going forward.
Thank you for that, leader. So just so I'm clear then, you have been very clear today that you won't identify specific savings or measures or anything specifically within what's going to become through the budget. But can you just clarify then that when the budget comes forward, the savings that will be identified in the budget will be equal to or greater than the amount of money that would be raised through a council tax increase? And can you further confirm that that will happen without cutting services, which again was an election promise by the Reform Party?
Our policy has always been low council tax, and that's what we'll adhere to. Our policy is service to the people, so that will be maintained, and the efficiency going forward will drive us into that position where we'll be able to do those things. Can't do it where you're doing it. It's been tried and tried for 24 years, and nothing happens. Council tax up, services cut. This is different, and I believe this is achievable because we're talking to the people who have those skills, and it's vital that they have these exceptional skills, and that's fine. So I'm covered off on that. The pledge is simply this: we're going to work to lower taxes for the people, as well as create efficiencies, give us a wherewith to do that, always looking after people who need our help and our services. That's absolutely spot on. We will protect services.
If you could...
Jesus. That ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. Services are absolutely gonna get trashed. And they're gonna have to raise council tax. And if they don't, this is a Liz Truss mini budget. Yeah, quote him on that. Exactly. 2 + 2 is 8 according to Reform. Exactly. This is some economic magic going on here. This is some absolute economic magic going on by him here. This doesn't end well. This doesn't end well. This is This is Liz Truss mini budget territory. I would be comparing him to Liz Truss on this.
You can try.
Yeah.
So slightly more generally then, is it the case that when we get the budget in whenever, into the end February, whenever, that the budget will include tax cuts, which you've said to Mr. Smith will happen, but will include efficiencies that will offset the difference? So the authority, or greater than the difference. So the budget will be better in terms of the future stability of Leicestershire County Council. Leicestershire will be more stable going forward than it would be with tax increases.
Yeah.
Is that the case? So we're going to see tax cuts and with savings that will offset the difference. So we'll be a net better off than we would be if the tax increases went up.
That is our whole intention to do.
Declan, I don't want to put you in a difficult position.
That is mini budget territory. That is Liz Truss, Kersey Quitang territory. That kind of magic thinking. Good Lord, this is this is shocking. This is insane. How like Leicestershire's not going to survive. Leicestershire's going to go under at this point if these guys remain in charge.
But obviously you're the section 151 officer and you have to sign off the budget. Can you see that we can deliver a balanced budget next year with council tax cuts, in your professional opinion?
Obviously,
Love it. Bring in the 151 officer. Love it. Let's see what he has to say.
Next year with council tax cuts, in your professional opinion?
obviously at the start of the MTFS process, so there's an awful lot of information still to come through. So, for example, funding reform, which is the most significant reforms in over a decade, it's looking now like the government's not going to give us that information until October, November. The budget, which sets things like national living wage, employment tax, etc., is now not going to be till the end of November. And obviously, just sort of a couple of examples. So as we sit here now, it's too early in the process. We'll just have to let further information come in, and then we'll formulate a budget like we always do, looking at the what's the impact on income, what's the impact on expenditure, and the gap we've got to deal with. But it's just too early in the process at the moment.
So you're not sharing the leader's optimism at the minute. Okay, Mr. King.
Thanks, Chair. So I'm just going to ask some questions now, and whether the officers or the leader wants to answer. So,
it says it all. It says it all when, again, I thought that was the deputy for reform. It's not. So it's the 151 officer. The 151 officer is pretty much the financial guy at the council. He basically said, I'm as you heard the chairwoman say, so you don't share the council leader's optimism. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, he must be sweating. He must be sweating. I do not envy his position. I think that guy's having some very sleepless nights at the moment.
sort of comes right to the heart of it, and it's about credibility. So, and I've raised these questions before about savings credibility. So what I'd like to try and understand is in Appendix D, there's a list of savings that are apparently under development. Which one of those, Mr. Harrison, do you believe will actually be deliverable in 25-26? When will we have a list of concrete proposals, not aspirations, of the savings that are under development? And I kind of touched on this earlier, Chair, when I mentioned about last week's adult social care scrutiny meeting, when the officers walked us through one of the proposals that the plan changes they're working on at the moment, and that's taken nearly 2 years to come to fruition. So I'm just trying to understand where we are now and what's actually going to be deliverable for the 25-26 budget. I wonder if you can help me out with that at all. Thank you.
If I can pick that up, the reason we put these as savings and development is to give committees like this, I suppose, insight into what's been worked on, even though they're not ready yet to be full savings proposals. So in fairness to the leader at the moment, it's not in a position to really say what's deliverable for 25-26 because officers haven't recommended yet what is the sort of the saving programme, what's the sort of the investment required versus the savings. It's purely to give, like I say, committees like this visibility of what officers are working on at the moment. So some of these will come forward for 25-26, but some of them by the nature will be a little bit longer term. But that's just in common with how we've done that, this sort of savings under development appendix in the past as well.
Mr. Innes. Mr. Innes.
Thank you, Chair. Just to cover off some of the specifics in the report, the high needs block, which is obviously of significant.
Yeah. I used to think councils were run by grown-ups. Now I see how wrong I can be. And this is why, honestly, it really matters for local councils, probably more so about who it is. Like, it really, really matters. This is why I worry about reform taking over my council, because our current councils, as again, it's a Labour one, but they've done a lot of work in Barnsley. They've really turned Barnsley around. Generally, they really have. They've done a lot of work to help turn the town into something absolutely incredible and amazing. And I would encourage anyone to come into Barnsley Town Centre and see for themselves, like, the transformation it has gone through. If these reform people get in, that ends. Like, that just completely ends overnight. So I am so worried about what is going to happen. What is going to happen on here? But anyway, we'll see what this question is from here. I think the Lib Dems on this one.
The high needs block, which is obviously of significant overspend. What was the anticipated growth in the calendar year for the requirement? Because I see that it went up from 6538 up to 8176, which is a huge increase. And just to follow up on that, is the 8176 the final position, or are we still expecting even greater growth?
In terms of the second point around greater growth, in the projection for the rest of the year, we have assumed some continued growth. So we're at just under 8,200 now. We've assumed that based on the current trajectory, that will continue to around 8,500 by March 2026, which is a 22% increase compared to the budgeted position. But that's based on the demand that we've seen in the first kind of period of the year and assuming that it continues in some way by the end of the year. In terms of your specific question then about the growth that was included in the budget, if you give me a few minutes, I'll find it. But we had assumed a certain level of growth, but it has exceeded the point that we're at the moment. But what we tend to do when we're setting the budget is we will look at the demand that we've seen. We'll do some different scenarios around the increase in demand that we've seen over different periods and do sort of blended assumptions. So there was an element of growth included based on previous trends, but it has exceeded that level of growth that we'd anticipated. Because it is demand-led and it is quite volatile, so it could be that demand kind of eases off or continues on its current trajectory.
Thank you. If I understand correctly, then we're going to be 22% above the additional percentage that was originally calculated. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's right. So and it's only a forecast at the moment, but the forecast that we've included in the report assumes a 22% increase compared to the budgeted position, which was based on a forecast of increased demand.
Yes.
That's huge. Absolutely unprecedented then in years gone by. Or am I misreading the figures? Because I look at the percentage increase over the last, well, even the last 4 years, and it's nowhere near that. So do we actually fully understand what the issue is there?
You're right. If you look back at the sort of the historic trend over the last few years, this has definitely taken an uptick, and we've seen a similar thing with sort of similar authorities as well. Now, the belief is it's obviously not one of those that you can definitely nail 100%. It's with the government talking about sort of reforms to SEND. people are concerned that if they don't get their packages of support, as it were, before the reforms come in, they'll miss out. So what we believe is happening, that both from sort of schools and parents, is a push to try and get through the door before those changes happen. Now, like I say, I mean, that's semi-anecdotal, but the fact that it seems to be replicated everywhere and there's quite a clear kind of uptick in the trend line kind of nationally, that does feel like it's got some credence. But no, you are right, it has an acceleration in the number of pupils looking for support.
Simone, you still got your microphone on. I think, Mr. Innes, I can probably give you some information as well. Obviously, I was the lead member for this area for the past 5 years, and I think this is one area where the lead member needs to have a really, really, really close view on what's happening and give confidence to families. So that has been a slight change from the election. So that might be that there's a lack of confidence in the department in this area. So, you know, I take what Declan's saying about the reforms.
Wow, that was a good dig. That was a very good dig. Why has there been an increase in demand? Oh, well, people don't have confidence because remember, a 22-year-old got put in charge of that. Sorry, no, a 19-year-old got put in charge of that in this area. I wonder why. I wonder why people would not have confidence in the council anymore over that. I couldn't help but think.
Coming forward, but I think there's a lot of confidence and trust that needs to be in the local authority with families and parents in that their children will get the needs without an EHCP. So that could be part of it as well. Okay, Mr. Mullaney, you're next.
Thank you. So obviously we've got this deficit, and I suppose the question is, can we deal with it either by reducing expenditure or increasing income? I mean, on the reducing expenditure, obviously, page 4.11 says there's already been 290 million of savings delivered since 2010. So it's not as if there's a huge amount of fat in the budget that can be trimmed, really. And we're really at the sort of bone at the moment. And is there any realistic way in which any set of savings are going to find anything substantial, given the huge cutbacks that have already taken place over the last 15 years? And then on point 12 on page 4, the other thing is, of course, whether we get more money in. Of course, there has been the long-standing campaign for fair funding, but for that to really make the difference, given the scale of the budget, and it's going to have to be a substantial increase in funding. But as the paperwork says, the indications are that we'll benefit marginally from the proposed changes, which suggests that's not going to be the miracle that saves the situation either. So really, it does seem to be quite a difficult situation. You mentioned, Mr. Harrison, that you'd approached MPs for support and indicated that your view was there was a lack of support. Was that they weren't keen to engage with you, or was it that they were keen to engage and support the campaign, but it was just that the government wasn't prepared to listen? What would your sort of...
A reform to invest in crypto? Not. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. There would be. It's a lunatic idea enough for them to do.
Feeling of that situation be?
The letter is quite recent, so we're waiting. We've got to give a bit of time, I suppose, probably a month for these people to be able to get through all the work they're doing. I don't know. Some have had quick responses in the past, but we haven't. The letter went out probably a fortnight ago, something like that. So we've got to wait and see where we go with it. But I'm not optimistic that they'll come riding in to help us because of the financial situation in government alone. But could I make a comment, Madam Chair, about your comment about the lead member? I think it's quite disgraceful, your form of attacks. He doesn't have to assure anybody. The director assures and the staff assures the public. The lead member does not make statements reassuring people. I just found that quite...
Yes, in a way he does, but you've also got to remember your lead member put out messaging that he didn't think that mental health was real, if people remember that. So, again, I wonder why parents in Leicestershire do not have confidence in your administration, Harrison.
It's intimidating and inaccurate attitude to have against somebody, because you've been there, you know what it's like. You go in, you do your job, you ask questions. Mainly it should be supporting in political guidance. You may have had some initiatives, who knows, I wasn't there to see that. But to speak the way you have, and just now in this meeting in a cynical way, is absolutely disgraceful. because that portfolio holder, according to his director, has spoken to me on 3 occasions when I've approached her, and she came to talk to me quite recently and say, no, he's doing a superb job, getting on with the staff well, doing a job.
Oh, I'm sure that's what she said. She's not worried about losing a job at all.
That's good, and he's no different to anybody else in this room who has a full-time job who is still a member here. So I just think that your attacks are really fairly outrageous without real confirmation. I just think, it's intimidation through arrogance, which isn't really appropriate in this. You should be talking and inquiring, but not suggesting that he should be there holding children and doing all sorts. And there was some comment last week, someone media should have his arms around people. He does a good job. The officers.
Yeah, absolutely. Thin-skinned. Thin-skinned. But yeah, I would not be surprised if they are not at this at all. I would not be surprised at all in this, quite frankly. It's remember, they've appointed a 19-year-old to be in charge of adult education. So not adult education, sorry, child education. Yeah, because as Vince points out, they sacked that one. They sacked that one. Yeah, you've got to remember, in Leicestershire, you had the 22-year-old in charge of adult social care. He got sacked and was also the deputy leader, so he got sacked because apparently he couldn't do the job. And now you've got that 19-year-old as well. He's in charge of child services, of SEND. He is not going to do very well at all. He is not going to do very well at all when it comes to this. It is going to be a disaster. And I think he's deflecting here. He's absolutely deflecting because he does not want to, as usual, as we've seen, answer the question.
Are there now? And I know that if he didn't turn up for 2 months, we'd crash. Would any of us with a portfolio didn't turn up for 2 months to a cabinet? What would happen? The business would carry on because we have excellent full-time directors running departments.
Except there would be decisions that he would need to make that cannot be made. This idea of this just goes to show you that people like Harrison and these reform people, they do not understand the position they are in. They do not understand what their position does. They do not understand, because according to his logic, why even bother have local council elections at that point? If local authorities work very well just with officers, why even have local democracy at all at that point? Jesus. Yeah. With such a fragile ego, he's not suited for leadership. Absolutely. This guy is not suited for this leadership position at all. He cannot lead. How he is still here, I don't know. But I would be asking questions about his competence.
and they're not hanging on the edge waiting for the portfolio member. So I think it's outrageous, your attacks. They're unfounded. It's unprofessional.
I'm just waiting for you to finish because we're here to scrutinise you, not the other way around. So we're entitled to our opinion.
Madam Chairman, you made a
I'm
comment.
chair
I
of this
thought it
meeting,
was outrageous.
and you're entitled to your opinion. This is not the place to give
Point
your
of order,
opinion.
Chair.
I'm the chair.
Point of order. What Mr. Harrison is saying is completely irrelevant to the scrutiny proceedings of this meeting.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Mr. Harrison. I do understand you feel strongly about your cabinet members, but this is not the time nor place. We're trying to scrutinise the MTFS and your plans for the council's finances. Thank you.
And all the things you just said are not something that I've said anyway. So you're totally out of order yourself for having a little rant in scrutiny. So yeah, you carry on. Dr. Bloxham, did you want to ask your question?
Yeah, Simone, coming back to Mr. Finn's point from earlier, and the chair's interjection that the overspend might be due to confidence in the cabinet lead. So a couple of points. You did say it was a demand-led service, so I'm not sure how any sort of confidence or lack of confidence would increase demand for send. So it seems a little bit absurd, but if you could just clarify that. And also, when the budget was made back in February, when did the overspend actually begin? Did it begin on the 2nd of May, or did it start diverging before that?
So in terms of the last point, I think we've seen continued growth in EHCPs. I think we forecast a growth rate of about 7% for 25-26, but actually it's kind of in the last quarter really of 24-25.
Oh, good evening to everyone, by the way, joining us. DHS, good evening. What's this? Last time we spoke, do you not like D&D? I guess you say Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, I still do like Dungeons and Dragons. I'm still a fan.
We did start to see some further increases, but in previous years it's been higher and lower, and that's what we have seen because it's demand led. It is sometimes quite difficult to plan accurately for the impact of the increase in demand. There is, just to remind members, there is a scrutiny workshop in October as well. I think it's the 15th of October, where we will present some further details around the position, what's causing the demand, and also probably to put that into context with the national position as well, just to say that it is actually a national trend. It isn't just impacting on Leicestershire, but that also will give members a chance to have more of a deep dive. And as Declan's also mentioned, we do think that the national reforms, or the impending national reforms, are having an impact as well, because parents and probably schools are looking to make sure their children and pupils get the support they need before those reforms come in.
Thank you. So if lack of confidence in the cabinet member was a factor, then it's just good to know that it started under the previous cabinet lead.
Mr. Balls.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jane. Just on that, obviously we had children and family scrutiny as well last week. And do you think it's coincidental that we're actually clearing the backlog, being successful in actually processing these assessments and finding more children who need our support, and the cost goes up? So I just wondered how the collaboration between departments really works, because on one hand we've got this great success in getting assessments through quicker, cutting down that backlog, and then suddenly finding the budget for identifying children who need extra support goes up. I suggest that maybe there's a lack of communication maybe between the two, and I'd love to know how that relationship works, because we're having great success assessing more children and finding the support they need, but obviously the cost goes up because we're identifying more children potentially in that process.
Simone touched on, there's a workshop with sort of scrutiny in October. The director will be there. So if we're going to get sort of deeply into the high needs, well, that makes sense to use that workshop to do that. And just in terms of your point about the department's been joined up, they're very joined up. You know, obviously kind of if you identify more kids with sort of needing support, the costs do go up. It's always difficult with SEND, obviously sort of operates a little bit on sort of school years as well, although you will get sort of requests coming through the year. Often the changes don't happen until those changes in academic years, so it can take sort of jumps and steps. But we do work well with sort of finance and the department. We have sort of finance teams embedded in the department to help them with that sort of forecasting and make sure we can join up the operational and financial side. But I would suggest that we're going to get deeper into the high needs, it's better when the directors there, because they can sort of give much better insight than we can on what drives the support, what different options are looking at in support and things like that.
Mr. King.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to go back to the very specific questions that I had, which didn't manage to go through all of them. Just talking about the SEND overspend, I understand there is a national trend. So a meeting last week, or in another hat, and I understand nationally the increase in the SEND personal health social care statements is around 10%. Although one of the issues I understand is that the government itself, the new Labour government, since July last year, was talking about making significant changes to the SEND framework. And what's happened is, I understand one of the drivers anyway, is that schools have been encouraging parents to make applications, and so basically there's been a bit of a wave increase across the country in because schools get more funding if children are given that. But just talking about the SEND overspend, obviously that's off balance sheet. In fact, it's on the balance sheet, but it's off. We don't actually have to fund it. But one of the things I do recall, Simone, from previously is you said we'd got a reserve fund to kind of mitigate against the kind of if the government suddenly decided to call it in. It's a very significant amount of money. So are we having to add additional contingency to meet the overspend? And I just wonder if you can just outline what is the additional contingency that we're having to allocate towards this, and
where's the magic money? Is essentially what he's asking there. Where's the magic money?
where is that money coming from? If you could just explain that without impacting on frontline services, as the leaders just indicated, and also so if you could just go through that, that'd be great. Thank you. And I've got a couple more questions after that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, the council has a strategy of making some provision towards the deficit each year, just so there is that some cover for when it ever ends, because A, we don't know for sure when it'll end, and B, what the government's long-term plans is. So we do set aside a proportion of the deficit into a reserve each year. It has been 50% for the last few years. So as part of the period for monitoring, and it's one of the factors that is driving the overspend in the main revenue budget, we are having to increase the amount that we're putting into that reserve because of the overspend. So within the table at the beginning of the report that's feeding into that overall overspend position, there is an increased contribution of just under 50 million into the reserve for this year to keep it in line with that previous strategy.
I just mention one point, and that is the difficulty you have is, although it's off balance sheet in theory, it is real money, it's real cash that you're sort of putting out the door. So we do need to sort of try and make sure we can fund that cash, not leave ourselves in a position where you actually get into debt to fund this deficit. So at the moment we do lose interest income because of the deficit, but it's not as bad in theory as it could be if the whole thing came back on balance sheet.
If I can just come back on that, so 15 million additional into reserves for 24-25. Sorry, 25-26. Okay, so what's the total amount that we're holding in reserves to cover off the high needs block at the moment?
So as at the end of the last financial year, based on the previous cumulative deficit, which was just over 60 million, we would have had in the region of 30 million in reserves. We are at the moment forecasting that cumulative deficit will exceed 100 million. So we'll be, as I said, increasing that reserve contribution proportionately. So we should have in the region of 50 million towards that 100 million pounds cumulative deficit. But we will keep that under review and adjust that as the year progresses as we need to.
That's great. Thank you for that. And further question I got is just about capital affordability. Now, obviously, given the higher inflation because of the doom loop economics of the government, we've got higher inflation and higher borrowing costs. So I'm just wondering what schemes in the capital programme are now realistically affordable and which might already be at risk of being binned off because we can't afford to do them. I'm just wondering if anyone's able to just explain or identify any of those projects now that might be at risk. Thank you.
We have got a gap in the capital programme over the MTFS. So we've got a gap of just over 80 million as things stand between the priority projects and funding. Some schemes are funded externally, or we have external grants towards them anyway. Some schemes are funded by the council. I think at this point, it's probably too early to give any further details on any projects that might not be able to complete. I think at this point we would review the priorities in the programme, review funding options, look at potential borrowing costs in the future, and then that would be a decision for Cabinet to consider as part of the MTFS refresh.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chair. So just come back to that. So at the moment you can't say which projects. Okay. Right. So just then finally, Chair, from what I've heard, I'm really concerned actually that despite what the leader says and his rhetoric, we're actually, I mean, you talk about you're going to appoint some consultants maybe in November, who will then have less than 3 months to bring forward a detailed programme of savings and efficiencies, additional to the ones that are already.
I remember technically it's less than 3 months because you've got to give councillors enough time to be able to view it. Normally these types of things are like shown in December, so then all the councillors can have time to look at them and scrutinise them. They are not going to have enough time for this.
Already underway in work, etc., for us to agree. But you've also identified that and stated repeatedly that you're looking to implement tax cuts. I just, it's just not credible, Chairman. It's just not credible at all. I'm really concerned here, and I should think all our residents are concerned that there's just no credibility here at all. And unfortunately, whether you like it or not, Mr. Harris, unfortunately, the first few months of your administration have been littered with instability and all sorts of. Well, no, it's a fact. It's a fact. Well, it is, because it all comes back to financial leadership.
I think we're coming back to the confidence point.
Confidence and leadership of this authority, and at the moment, I don't think I've got any, quite frankly. What I've heard today,
we could have some real fun going in Leicestershire if there's a motion of no confidence goes through. We could have a real fun time if a motion of no confidence goes through against Harrison here.
I'm not sure any of our residents will have much either, unfortunately. Thank you, Chair.
I think we'll let the residents be the judge of that. They've had 24 years of tax leaps forward. Maximum taxes now is a standard thing, not the 3%. Yeah, but understood and regretted it, could see, but I did attempt to try to get cuts, but nobody wanted to work with that. But it is serious, and this is your mess that we're now inherited, and we're determined as reform.
Blame the previous administration. You're now in charge. What matters is what you intend to do. When Labour came in and they were like, yeah, we've inherited this massive mess. Here's how we intend to do it. You know, you could excuse them. You could go, okay, well, there's their plan. Sure, you could disagree with the plan or whatever, or maybe say they could do things different, etc. Harrison hasn't even got a plan. He hasn't even put forward any form of plan about how to solve this apparent mess they are now in. They are the ones in power now. They have to come up with answers about how they are going to solve this problem. And so far, Harrison hasn't put forward any problems. It is just putting forward more and more problems. It's insane. And yeah, blame the previous administration that he was a part of. It's just... It's insane. Yeah, exactly. 50 million on the 230 now at Doncaster. Sure thing from the bloke down the pub. Yeah, gold bullion, isn't it? That's what Nigel flogs. Yeah, maybe they'll just invest it all in gold bullion. Baldrick is clearly his political advisor. He has a cunning plan. Yeah, it must do. Must have some sort of cunning plan, because I don't see a plan. If I was living in Leicestershire, if I was a Leicestershire resident, I would be very worried. I would be very worried at this moment in time. If you do happen to live in Leicestershire, you have my sympathies. Because, oh boy, Jesus.
To do something about that. It's as simple as that, Madam Chairman. You sat there and you led and did nothing about it. There's a problem. You don't just sit there watching it get bigger and bigger and bigger. You have. Now, we've come in, and I particularly know what to do and get on with the job. We have to do something. We cannot sit.
But what are you doing? Jesus. We're doing it. We're getting on with the job. What are you doing then, Harrison? Good Lord. I could not stress if I was a councillor on this committee meeting, I would have lost it. I would have lost it to Harrison if it got around to me by this point. I'd have just both barrels and just blasted him, because honestly, he deserves it. And bear in mind, we're an hour into this 3-hour meeting, and we've been going almost 2 hours and a half at this point. I think we will look at maybe winding this up about 9 o'clock-ish, just to let you guys know on this. But oh boy, this hasn't gone well. this has not gone well for Harrison. This is a mauling. I can understand why his financial person decided to go on holiday. Yeah, just happened to be at the same time they were doing the scrutiny committee meeting. Yeah. If you ask him any questions, you're completely nasty. Yet he's now attacking Councillor Taylor and all his former colleagues. Yeah. Yeah, maybe he's going to make matchstick models and models of the De Montfort Hall and sell them to tourists. Except that's Leicester City, not Leicestershire. Yeah, so interesting times in Leicestershire for sure.
Sit back indefinitely and saying, well, you know, it'll be all right. Well, it won't be all right because the debt is becoming overwhelming. Something has to be done. Now, if you'd been doing it over the last few years, we wouldn't be where we are, but we are here today. So all I'm saying is, bear with me. You had 24 years. Give us a few more months to be able to get something forward, to be able to come and talk to you and say, this is what we are doing and this is what we're going to achieve. Now, that's fine. So I would just say, you know, you've sat back for all those years, just a few more months.
They've only been in power 5 months at this point. What else are they meant to do? Meanwhile, bear in mind, as an example, you've had the Labour government that were right off the ground, right from the first week. These guys, by comparison, are moving at an absolute snail's pace. They've done nothing. They've done nothing. They're the ones sitting back doing nothing. It's unbelievable.
And then hopefully, God willing, we'll come forward with a plan that is appropriate and works. Thank you.
Just to clarify, Mr. Harrison, last year's financial budget, when I was acting leader, was forecasting using £6 million of reserve, but I pulled the budget back in and we didn't need to dip into reserves last year. So just to clarify that point, but thank you for that. Mr. King.
I've just listened to Mr. Harrison again, his rhetoric about efficiency and savings. But what I've not discovered today is when the Cabinet is going to bring forward a credible, detailed plan about those efficiencies and savings. And as my colleague, Mr. Mullaney, pointed out earlier, the Council has already made efficiencies of £290 million. Over, you just said we've done nothing. Actually, we've done an awful lot. Despite what we may have not wanted to do. And you're right, council tax did increase. Unfortunately, that's nothing any of us particularly wanted to do. Unfortunately, that's just the financial economics of the situation. And you and your party are adamant that you can save a substantial amount of money on top of 290 million in efficiencies on a yet uncosted, unworked up programme in 3 months' time. And at the same time, deliver tax cuts. It's just not credible at all. Just not credible. And you know, and on top of that, you've had a massive political and organisational instability. You sacked your own deputy leader only a couple of weeks ago. You reshuffle. I mean, okay, these things happen. You know, no one's perfect. I get that. Well, that creates instability. And I see Mr. Crooks over there. It'll take him time to get up to speed with things, and the other Mr. Abbott time to get up to speed with things. I get that. But yet again, you know, it slows down things. It slows down efficiency and effectiveness of political decision making, and that's what you're now, you know, for rightly or wrongly, but the people of Leicestershire have put you in for. But at the moment, what you're talking about, it doesn't add up at all. It's unfunded tax cuts.
Yeah, it is. It's unfunded tax cuts. It's Liz Truss levels of delusionalism we're seeing here. I would be very worried. I would be very, very worried, to be honest. Yeah, that's not fair. They've done some. They've not done nothing. Those holidays didn't book themselves, you know. Very true. Very true. Oh.
Bonkers economics, basically. Quite frankly, maybe you know, you've been taking lessons from the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Maybe, I don't know. But thank you, Chairman. Thank you.
How cynical can you be? I will not share with you, but I do know what has been suggested in the early savings, which is dramatic and important. And when it's appropriate,
Why
with a
can't you
worked
share
up
them?
plan, I will be prepared to share. That's based on my confidence of how we can move forward, knowing that a professional international organisation has had a look and said, hey, our early doors thought is that. And it's enough to make me have confidence to know going forward, it will deliver the sort of levels that we need. And they're all substantial.
Wait, so you've had what an international organization already look? What is this international organization? Who are they? That would buy me the follow-up question. Excuse me, who are these people that have had a look, and what exactly have they told you? We deserve to know. You can't wave it away and say, "Oh, I can't tell you." No, you have to tell us, Mr. Harrison. What have they told you? What have you been told? What have you been told to do by this organization? You can't just dodge that question, but he will. I'm sure he will. Jesus.
Substantial numbers. Thank you.
Again, I think our residents and all of us as taxpayers will look forward to that. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Chairman. I disagree with Mr. King when he says that the leadership is not credible. I think it's absolutely incredible because he's sat here this morning, he's dithered, he's diverged from the actual questions that we've actually asked him. He's blathered on and not answered a single question, saying when the time's appropriate, and he won't share, and he knows this and he knows that. But I'm an avid note taker, so I've summarised what I've actually heard this morning, and it is that he's confirmed he doesn't have the confidence in his cabinet to deliver a balanced budget, and that the members of the people of Leicestershire back in May elected to make these decisions. You did say that, and it's actually
Madam Chairman, I have not said I have no confidence in my cabinet.
He absolutely did. He absolutely did. How dare you record me taking notes? Good Lord. At what point are they going to call motion of confidence in him? Like, at what point? I think it might be the budget. Like, when they produce this fantasy budget. It really does look like it at this point. All of a sudden, Leicestershire's gone up the rankings for which reform council is going to, like, go belly up first, to be honest. Jesus Christ.
Morning. Madam Chair, he was asked twice by myself. He refused to answer. And I did say that you clearly don't have the confidence in your cabinet to make those decisions because you're going to be bringing in external professionals at taxpayers' expense to do this for you instead of using your cabinet like your previous administration did and the previous administrations before that. You've also stated that you'll be cutting council tax without cutting service. You'll be making efficiency savings greater than the deficit caused by these said council tax cuts to leave Leicestershire in a better financial position. But you don't want to say how you're going to do this. So I'm not going to ask the leader to reply because it's just going to be another 20 minutes of waffle. So I'd like to ask our professionals and, you know, by your own admission, excellent full-time directors. So Declan, based on what the leader said this morning, with 8 to 12 weeks to go before a draft budget must be published, are we in a position to lower taxes? Yes or no?
My reply is the same as the reply before. At the start of the process, we've got more uncertainty than we normally do with this process, with the changes going on with funding reform, with what's going on with central government. So we've just got to let the process continue. We've just got to let more information come in. And then as officers, we'll propose a budget for consultation in December. That's all I can say at this point.
So I think we get from that Mr. Harrison's confidence is probably a bit premature, that we can't really say that in the minute. And I think we're in this situation where we are, and we've just got to manage it as best we can, as has done before. Declan, can I just go back to the income that we're getting from obviously investments and things that we've done before that are helping to prop up the council and the budget. So
wow.
Have we got any figure about what we're getting from all those investments that previous administrations have put in place? How much that's giving to the revenue budget to prop it up?
It's a little bit over 8 million per annum.
Okay, thank you. Can I just ask the lead as well? I think the lead member for finance in one of the cabinet meetings said that Doge would be coming to Leicestershire. Are you able to give any update? Obviously, you said you're going out at taxpayers' expense to get international consultants, where I think Reform UK said that Doge will be free for all local authorities. So can you just explain why you're spending taxpayers' money rather than Doge coming here free?
Yeah, true. Good question. Good question.
Well, it's quite simple, really. In simple terms, I let them know that welcome people to come and talk to us, because I'd need to talk to them in detail. The sort of money we've got to save, I don't think they would be in that position to do so, because it's a considerable amount of money that's got to be saved.
So he doesn't have confidence in the Doge unit. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Like, look, Harrison's got in trouble with national reform anyway in the past. I wonder if he's had a phone call this week from Reform National about this scrutiny committee meeting. I wouldn't be too surprised if he has.
So that's where we are with that. It's not ducking, it's not diving. They haven't said if they wanted to come, I'd welcome them to sit and talk, and I could be open and frank and say, this is what we've inherited, this is what we've got to achieve to be able to put this business right. Can you help? And from I think what they've been doing is probably not on the scale that we've got to work on. It's considerable and it's vast.
So you've got no confidence that Doge would be able to rectify the issues that you...
No, that is you putting words in my mouth. I said I'd welcome them to come, but I don't think they would have the time and all of the skills people there working to...
Oh, I don't think they'd have the time and the skills to be able to do it. So you clearly don't have confidence that they would be able to come and do it. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I keep on saying it again and again and again. People like Harrison, who were the Tories who jumped ship to Reform UK, are not the ones that were the good Tories in the local area. That is why they did not rise up the ranks. That's why people like Harrison jumped ship, because they thought they would be able to get a better deal, a better position in Reform, which is what he's got. But this is insane. This is insane. How honestly can you have confidence in your council after this, after seeing this? If I were a Leicestershire resident, I would be writing a letter to all my councillors saying, please, for the love of God, put a motion of no confidence in this council, or at least in Harrison. You can't allow him to continue on this. This is insane. I think when the budget comes around, I think that might be what causes it. I think that's what might cause this, is this vote of no confidence in Leicestershire. I cannot see this guy lasting. I really cannot see this guy lasting.
To raise the sort of money savings that we've got to create. So Councillor Smith can give you instructions as he normally does.
Yeah, exactly. That is very true, Vince. Very true. It's also the sad part. That's why Reform did very well at the last set of local government. It's also why, unfortunately, I fear they will do well at the next local elections, because turnout at local elections is dire. Absolutely dire. That is why turnout at the next local elections we need to drive. Partly why I'm doing these videos all the time on Reform. Also, because I generally can't believe the amount of incompetence that is coming out that I can do this amount of videos that I've done on Reform UK. Generally cannot believe that I've been able to do that. But at least it's a hope that this will make people go, oh my God, why on earth would we put Reform in charge? Why on earth would we vote for Reform UK to put them in these local council seats? Because unfortunately, I have a feeling after next May, we're going to have a few more councils to go and start visiting, and then you've thought more committee meetings and scrutiny meetings to start watching. That's for sure. Hopefully not my own local council, but I do fear for that as well. Because we've got a full sweep, a full 63-seat council seat election going, which makes me worry so much.
But at the end of the day, yeah, and he's mouthing it over to you. So, I mean, I don't know how you work it between the two of you, but it's clear that I've said They have never approached to come in. If they had done, I let the word out that they'd be welcome to come, but they haven't. But they probably realise that we've got to raise a lot of money. You know, so 10 or 20,000 million isn't going to do much good for us, or even 30 million. So we've got to raise a lot of money, and it's important.
So you haven't proactively asked them?
Yes,
come
yes.
here.
I said I'd welcome them to come.
That's different from proactively inviting them to come and have a look. So have you actually contacted Doge to come here and have a look?
It's simple. The invite went out to them.
Okay, so you have invited them here.
Yes,
Right,
yes.
thank you. Clear answer, thank you.
Thank you.
Is it possible for me to see the letter that you sent to the MPs?
Yes, yes, of course.
If you can share that with Scrutiny Commission, that would be good, thank you.
Yeah.
And also, can you share with, I presume the tender that's gone out for the consultants is also a public document, is it?
Not yet.
Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate you asked for that on Friday. I was just confirming I have the latest version, but yeah, I can send that to you.
Okay, so can you send that around to all of Scrutiny
Yeah,
Commission?
all
so they
three
got-
are interested.
Yeah, so we've all got seen a letter of that consultant's letter, thank you. I think that's all the questions that I had. Sorry, I have a few more hands. I don't know who was first. Mr. Poland?
Thank you. Again, as factual a question, I suppose, as possible. Maybe Simone. I appreciate we're talking about lowering council tax, and I appreciate you wouldn't want to put a specific figure on how much we're going to lower it. So for the sake of my question, if we assumed it was a freeze rather than a cut, although I appreciate it's going to be a cut, if it was a freeze, how much money would Leicestershire lose out on compared to, say, the amount that it was put up in the last budget? So what's that figure between what you know, a zero and whatever maximum would be?
So in the NTFS currently, we have assumed a 2.99% council tax increase each year for the next 3 years. Each 1% increase is about 4 million. So for 26-27, which is the next budget that we're looking to set, that a 2.99% increase that we've built in would be worth around £12 million. And obviously it would compound up for later years of the NTFS as well.
Thank you. So just so I'm clear then, so we're talking about tax cut, but for the sake of this question, if we assume a freeze,
we're going to skip forward.
that 12 million will be found through efficiency saving.
There, the current budget gap for MTFS is showing for next year is 39 million. If we didn't increase council tax, as Mr. Poland's just said, and there was a freeze, we're looking at adding an additional 12 million at least, if not more, to that 38 million. That makes 50 million gap, which would have to be found. That's just a freeze, not a cut. I'm sure if it was frozen, it'd be even more substantial. And then if we applied that freeze over the MTFS period, that is tens of millions of pounds, even more, to be found in service efficiencies. But just coming back to a point that Declan just made, he said the draft budget will come to Cabinet in December. That's what I've understood. Well, if that's the case, and we're not appointing these international...
Yeah, they don't have enough time. They do not have enough time.
...consultants until some point in November. That gives us, what, 2-3 weeks to come up with a plan? That's just, as I said earlier, that is just not credible, Chairman, at all.
It's not credible. It's just not feasible. It's not feasible.
Council for an organisation the size of Leicestershire County Council, £1.3 billion gross expenditure organisation. That is just not credible to be making major changes, strategic review in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, being generous. I just cannot see how that's even remotely credible. And I do think the leader needs to bring forward a proper programme timetable of his strategic review that he's talking about as soon as possible, instead of the rhetoric that we've had this morning and lack of direct answers to some of most of our questions. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, do you want to come back yet?
Yeah, because it's true, but it isn't true. I cannot say
it's true, but it isn't.
Because we've still got a tender out. I know some numbers. I know that it's going to be very important. So what do you expect? I can only say that that's the truth. We don't know at this stage. All I'm saying is that I believe that if this goes through, it will be very successful and will be very helpful for us.
I think the point, Mr. King, obviously from previous experience of setting a budget, you can't bring those savings in at the very last minute. The budget setting starts as soon as we start the financial year. And I think Mr. King's highlighting that I don't think you'll find those within the 25-26, sorry, next year's budget, the 26-27 budget, because it just won't be possible within 3 weeks to do that. So I think he's saying that you're not quite being as honest as you possibly could to say that you'll find those savings unless you already have found them when you're not sharing them. So I think that's the point Mr. King was getting at. Declan, just one question about the budget. The government saying they're not going to do the budget till the 26th of November.
Right. Okay. So yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance. I should have skipped forward, honestly, because they start going on to the Lib Dems, I believe, over here on this side. We should have skipped forward, to be honest, and just skipped some of this. But again, we live, we learn. But we did get through most. Well, I say most of the committee meeting. We got through an hour and about 23 minutes of it for almost a 3-hour stream. So, we did all right this time. Jesus. Cabinet meeting in Leicestershire. Has it already happened this month? I can't remember now. I have a sneaking suspicion it might have already happened this month. I bet it already has. Oh no, the last County Council meeting was on the 18th of May. Oh no, hang on. That was 3 years ago. Interesting enough, they haven't uploaded. Who knows? Yeah, interesting. That's for sure. But yeah, the next committee meeting, next full council meeting might be fun. Jesus. Friday, Vince, the 12th. Oh, joy. Let's see if we can do that live on Friday. I have a feeling that could be just as full of fireworks on Friday. So yeah, maybe we'll see. If I've got the time, I'll see. I'll check my calendar later on. I'll see how busy I am on Friday. But oh no, actually, no, we've passed. No, that was last week. Yeah, cabinet was last week. Yeah. Weird that it's not on there. Let me have a look. That was weird because it didn't sound like that. Leicestershire County Council cabinet meeting. Oh no, yes, here we are. Yes, 12th September. Yeah, found it. Found it. Cabinet tour meeting 12th September. There it is. There it is. I don't know if it would have been any more interesting than what we've watched, honestly, but maybe the next one it might be well, because obviously I think some of the stuff from the Scrutiny Committee meeting will probably get brought up. Oh no, actually, no, it probably would have been brought up in this meeting, wouldn't it? Because yeah, the Scrutiny meeting was on the 8th. This was on the 12th. So yeah, very, very well might have been brought up in this cabinet meeting. How long is the cabinet meeting? Oh, it's only now. We might do this at some point. We might do this. We might do this later on in the week. Who knows? Depends. We'll see what happens. So, as always, thank you very much, everyone, for, by the way, joining me today on today's stream. Please do remember to click on the like, share, and of course, if you are new, hit the subscribe button as well. Do remember to click the bell button as well so you get a notification if we do go live or anything like that. Always good to see. Do, of course, double check that you on YouTube isn't restricting you as well. It's the little thing up in the corner, your little thingy button right up at the top there. Click on that. It'll scroll down and you'll see restricted mode. It should be off, not on. That was an insane meeting. That was driving me, quite frankly, towards insanity. I don't know how well the councillors honestly got on that. I'd have lost my rag with him, to be honest. I would have been absolutely furious with him suggesting the kind of stuff he'd been saying there. But anyway, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me today. It's been absolutely fantastic. As always, links down below to help support the channel. thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. Hopefully, maybe we'll see if we get a chance next week. But I think Warwickshire might be having a scrutiny committee meeting soon. So if they do have one, we'll absolutely be watching that, because I think that might be quite fun as well, if they haven't had one already and I've already missed it. Like I say, honestly, trying to keep track of all these different council meetings is an absolute nightmare. But as always, thank you very much for coming along today and watching. Do remember to click on the like and share button before you go. And of course, as always, thank you very much for watching. I will see you all next time.